Can you picture yourself in space, sipping on a space milkshake while watching a sunset from the orbit of a planet? That's something that 50 years ago, heck, even 10 years ago, seemed like pure sci-fi. But now, it's almost within our grasp. But what steps are still needed to get there? What would it be like? And what challenges might we face? Let's talk a bit about what having a space hotel actually means. A few years back, Hotels.com dropped some conceptual images of what these places might look like. All sleek designs, cleaning robots, and hologram zones. While we're pretty close to almost everything these days, having something like that is still a ways off. But it's pretty darn dreamy to imagine hopping on a space shuttle and ending up at a hotel orbiting the planet. It's a fantastic, utopian idea. And though we do have Gateway Spaceport under construction, it's important to grasp that these are complex processes with their own set of challenges. So before we dive into all the perks and what's in store, it's worth taking a moment to consider the hurdles and conflicts involved in making a space hotel a reality. And boy, there are quite a few. Let's start with the technical challenges, which are no walk in the park, as companies like Gateway aim to tackle them. First off, there's radiation, one of space's most dangerous elements. Then there's the wild temperature fluctuations, which need some serious brainstorming to fix. Sure, there's already tech and gear for this, but remember, it's pricey. And let's not forget about necessities like oxygen and water. These have to be perfectly balanced for people to live comfortably. And we haven't even touched on the costs of getting people up there. Space tourism isn't exactly a bargain, and that's where we wade into the waters of pricing and economics. I mean, just a 90-minute suborbital trip can set you back anywhere from $450,000 to $600,000. Not exactly pocket change. But that's nothing compared to SpaceX and Blue Origin, who charge between $28 to $55 million per trip. In other words, these journeys aren't cheap. And if they become a regular thing, they've got to be meticulously organized and figured out. And that's not all. There are infrastructure details to consider too. Remember the materials needed for added protection, like what's used in the International Space Station? Well, that's a hefty price tag of over $100 million, not including ongoing maintenance to keep things safe. So, with solutions like building the hotel in one of Earth's lower layers for radiation protection and shorter flights, they've got to consider a slew of other factors, like time, which took 10 years for the International Space Station. But assuming we can overcome these hurdles, what would it be like to visit one of these hotels? What experiences could we expect? Talking a little bit about its design, I don't think it's something futuristic, not like what you see in these conceptual designs. I think it's quite the opposite. It's designed to maximize spatial comfort. Instead, these places will have a slightly lower gravity than Earth, maybe 1/6 of Earth's, for better mobility. But I think the trick is to play with gravity, to have areas with different levels of gravity, to provide different experiences. There could be places with minimal gravity for floating around, places for normal walking, or even controlled space exploration outside the facilities, or perfect simulation games that take advantage of the low gravity. Let's not forget about things like luxury suites, fine dining, sports areas, and places like bars. These aspects are important because even in space, comfort, like on Earth, is crucial. And above all, the views must be stunning. Because it's not just about doing what we do on Earth, it's about experiencing life in space. But it's important to consider, how safe is it? We've talked about things like microgravity and radiation, but what are the risks? There's always the possibility of infrastructure problems. So evacuation routes have to be designed with the unique conditions of space in mind, ensuring the safety of the occupants and the effectiveness of the evacuation in microgravity. Not only that, you need to be prepared to live in these space conditions. So once you've paid, you'd have to go through a little process because it's still a space trip and it's still under less gravity. There might be some dizziness, not to mention the necessary countermeasures for that. It means that these trips still wouldn't be suitable for everyone because of the changes involved in leaving the planet. Looking at the architecture and its sustainability, you basically have 24 modules linked by elevators, forming a rotating wheel around Earth. As the structure spins, it generates artificial gravity through centrifugal force, kind of like what we feel on Earth. The rotation speed and the wheel's radius determine how much artificial gravity we get, aiming for something similar to lunar or Martian gravity. This setup lets guests stroll around the hotel and enjoy activities as if they were in a regular Earth resort, but with stunning views of outer space. Architect Tim Alator explained that the interior design aims to bring a piece of Earth into space, with warm and classy suites, ditching the typical cold and sterile space station vibe. The current setup can handle up to 400 people at once, with spaces reaching up to 500 square meters. Right now, this is the closest example we've got. But what about water and oxygen? The fix is kinda simple. We already have natural water recycling systems, with filters that can easily be taken to space. Plus, during trips, we'll restock from Earth to fix that. Meanwhile, energy comes from solar panels. But let's tackle an important issue. How does this affect us legally and technologically? In this case, it's mostly about international treaties concerning outer space, like the 1967 Outer Space Treaty, saying space activities should benefit all countries. Then they're setting up safety standards and emergency protocols to keep tourists and crew safe, considering the risks of space. We'd also look at environmental impact and sustainability, cutting down waste and resource use. But for our species, once we tackle all this, it's a big deal overall. Having a space hotel means we can host folks not trained for space, alongside employees setting up conditions for life and improving spaceship and material prices, a real game changer. So that's a wrap, but before we go, what do you think? Would you want to travel to space and stay in one of these hotels? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content. Thanks for watching. Until next time.